Okay, here we go on a Tuesday. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy in association with our good friends at Yellowhammer News. Ready to kick things off. I'm John Longshore. He is Barry McKnight in his palatial studios in Troy, Alabama with the bookshelf. But I need a bookshelf behind me, so it looks like I'm more studious.
You need books too.
Yeah, I need some books.
Yeah.
I do need some books.
Yeah. The Tuesday show brings us into January the 28th.
Wow.
January. I mean, we're already just about 1/12 into the new year, and I'm still writing 2024 on all of my correspondence and stuff
I am
like
too.
that. Remember, it used to be a big deal whenever you had a new year, you and me and everybody would spend about a month and would always write like the previous year on our checks.
Oh, yeah.
Now, John,
I'm still doing it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. John's probably the only one I know that's still writing checks. Everybody else, has the only time I ever write a check is when I'm doing business with a place that only accepts cash and checks.
Sure. Yeah.
That's it.
I get
Other
it.
than that, man, no. That's
I don't know if I was talking to my wife or my sister, and the topic of checks came up, and I said, I don't really mind writing a couple of checks. I don't want to write 40, but 3 or 4, no big deal. I mean, the price of a stamp's kind of getting me a little bit too. I don't want to do that much anymore. But you know what the problem is, Barry? What a book of checks cost. If you have to reorder a book of checks, I mean, it's like $40. I'm thinking, what? I mean,
they ought to be paying you for still using checks,
Jeez.
Well,
I mean, checkbooks are expensive.
It is January 28th, and if you have been in this business or any business along as John and I have, you get into rhythms and stuff. Back in the day, and I don't want to spend the whole day, going down memory lane. Remember when we used to write checks? Remember when we used to, at this time of the year, John and I would be geeked up. Our countdown clocks would be set to, a week from tomorrow, National Signing Day. What are the Tigers going to get?
Yeah.
Well, Alabama, what are they going to do? What about that 5-star from Double Springs? Not anymore. And it's weird because we go through this every year where our cycles are, man, when we get to SEC Media Days, boy, there we go. Then after that, all football, then this season, and we get into that rhythm there. And, the Monday night game, what do we got tonight? And, later on, the bowl games and our bowl prediction contest. And then when the season's over, well, what about the playoffs in the NFL? Super Bowl's coming up. And, National Signing Day. And what about spring practice? When are the A-Day games and the T-Day game and all that kind of stuff? Those things change. It's not National Signing Day time, and our rhythms get a little bit. It's like this upcoming weekend. I'm going to be severely out of sorts because we're going to be, hunkering down, getting comfortable, maybe a slice of pizza at lunch, and there's no football.
I said the same thing.
What did we do last year when football ended? What did we watch? What was
no college?
What did we have?
No pro. Is the Pro Bowl deal this weekend? That Manning deal? I'm not going to watch anyway.
With the beach and the.
It's funny. My wife's going out of town this weekend. I went, well, what am I supposed to do? I mean, there's no football. She looked at me like, I don't know. Figure it out yourself. I'm thinking, man, I'm going to be kind of lonely, bored. What am I going to do here? No football. Oh, yeah, and the wife's out of town too. And I'm thinking, man, how am I going to handle this? But you mentioned the 28th of January, which is today.
Today is the 28th of January.
And the first thing I thought of when you mentioned that is a topic we discussed yesterday. In 2 years, we'll be 3 days away from the national championship, 3 days past the national championship game in college football, because it's scheduled to be played on January the 25th in 2027. And I'm thinking, okay, the day's the 28th. Wow. 2 years from now, we'll be still talking about the national championship game that was played 3 days prior on the 25th.
Will we be fatigued about it? Are we happy about it, thinking, oh, boy, an extra week or 2 weeks to talk about college football that's going on? Or will everybody be like John is in a 162-game baseball schedule? When is this thing ever going to be over? How long does this last? How many games do they play, Barry? Every year, 5-6 times a year, you can count on it. John says, how long's the schedule? 162 games? What about in the minors? 144? Why do they have to play that many? Is John at the point where he's going to start feeling that way about college football?
I think I am, and I've picked up from other people. You know, it's not the mass population, but I've heard some rumblings about the season's too long. College football should be wrapped up as soon or as close to New Year's Day as possible. And I know we've stretched it out to around the 8th or 9th of January since the 4-team playoff popped up, but the 25th of January, which will be the case in 2 years, I just want it condensed. There again, said it multiple times. You can have 16 teams. I'm all for it, but don't drag it out till February. You got to compact this thing a little bit.
And somebody points out, good one from Chris the Bammer. You know, the Birmingham Stallions, they get underway on March the 30th. That's 2 months away, Chris.
It is.
March the 30th against the DC Defenders. First 2 games are on the road. Then the Arlington Renegades. Finally at home, UFL football, April the 11th. By then, I'm worn out 5 erasers trying to figure out my taxes. That's
you know, I have not done my homework on the UFL yet, even though at one point in time in my life, I made a lot of money off of it.
Yeah, paid a lot of tuition, paid a lot of late fees.
Boy, didn't I. I don't know if they've expanded. Are there any new teams? Are they still playing in one location? Are they?
No, they're
kind of branched out a little bit.
You've still got the old familiar ones that you and I remember from our college days, the Michigan Panthers, the Birmingham Stallions, the Memphis Showboats are still a thing.
What happened to the San Antonio Gunslingers?
They're the San Antonio Brahmas now. The Brahma is a kind of a bull that you used to see when I was growing up in Central Florida with a big hump on its neck.
Yeah. Houston Gamblers, Oklahoma City Outlaws, New Jersey Generals. Man,
my favorite was when you had the Oklahoma Outlaws and you had the Oakland Invaders. And I remember when they merged.
Oh, yeah.
And I always thought the Invaders and the Outlaws should be called the In-Laws, but they never did that. It never happened. So, but you got a drought now. Sure, Super Bowl.
Got a drought.
Blah, blah, blah. Super Bowl coming up February the 9th. What do we watch?
A lot of basketball.
Are we watching a tons of college basketball?
Yeah.
I sure am. I'm calling a bunch of it, but I'm talking about the general public. This used to be the case when the college football season ended, and John and I are looking at the long, dry off season thinking, we got to come up with some content because Auburn basketball, man, Tony Barbie's team is awful. Alabama basketball, man, I wish David Hobbs would turn it around or whoever, whatever. Now you got 2 of the top 5 teams in the country. So at least now we have that option where we can talk about great basketball, great coaches, big crowds, players' mamas. I mean, we have at least now got that. In the past, honest to gosh, John, I don't know how he did it.
I don't either. We would certainly talk about it, discuss it, but it did not move the needle, as they say in this business. And I tell you, Barry, I think I've missed out on a business opportunity. I got to admit, didn't really think about it because I really focused more on football when I get to this topic. But it looks like I've missed out on an opportunity to buy every Auburn and Alabama basketball ticket for this season and resell them at double what I paid for them.
Yeah. probably more than double. I've never seen anything like it.
I'm with you. I mean, you could give tickets away. You'd let people in free to come see Auburn and Alabama play back in the day. Now you're talking about 4 digits to get into a game to see these two teams play.
I used to hate it. I used to back in the day, I used to cover a lot of Auburn basketball back at Beard Eves Coliseum. Used to broadcast a lot of it on television and everything. And it used to drive me nuts because they'd play Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
And that was always, I mean, the Kentucky game and the Alabama game were the 2 games you can guarantee there was going to be, I mean, it was going to look more than the Dance of the Living Dead in the stands. And over off, I'm looking at the court, over off to the right were just a huge number, a couple thousand young people, student age, dressed all in their blue and white UK hats on and everything. They were all the veterinary school students that got their undergraduate's degree in the pre-vet curriculum at Kentucky. They're going to Auburn. They're paying tuition at Auburn. They're living in Auburn. And, man, they're like, come on, Pitino, give us a wave, or, put in Timberlake or something like that. And I'm thinking, you're going to school at Auburn. And they used to be 90% of the noise that would happen inside Beard Eves Coliseum. That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
It ain't that way anymore.
It isn't. And, look, I know people, decide how they spend their money. And, there's things in my life maybe I'll spend a little more on because it's something I'm interested in. And not to say I'm not interested in college basketball, but am I going to do it, often? And I just can't imagine paying 4 figures for a regular season basketball game. Obviously, there are going to be people that are doing it. There again, I wish I would have been smart enough to cash in on it and take advantage of this excitement that people have for it. But I just cannot imagine spending 2.5 hours watching a sporting event and spending 4 figures to do it.
And again, John has brought this up. There's no tailgating beforehand. It's not like you can, sit at, well, I mean, there is tailgating, Auburn fans camp out and, all that kind of stuff, but it's not much. You're not sitting there 5 hours before the game, drinking a cold one with your buddies, watching other basketball games.
In the first Auburn Alabama game, is it in Auburn? I think it's on a Wednesday. It's not on a weekend. I could be wrong. I have to look it up, but I think one's on a weekend, one's on a weekday. Maybe the conference figured out we need to play these games on the weekend. That's something else I've been kind of wondering about why they don't do that every year anyway.
The first game is at Alabama, and it's on Saturday, February 15th. Then they play again at the very end of the year, last game of the year, which is March the 8th, and that'll be in Auburn.
And the March the 8th kind of sounds like a weekend. Maybe they are listening to me.
It is a Saturday. Both of them are on Saturday.
Well, that's a good one. I'm glad they finally did that in the scheduling department because it seems like every year one of the games was a midweek game, and I never understood why you're having rivalry games during the week. I mean, that the scheduling department should figure out, okay, they can play South Carolina on a Tuesday, but they don't need to play Auburn on a Tuesday and vice versa. So play those,
Neither one of them is a night game. Both of them, the one in Tuscaloosa on February 15th is at 3. The one to end the regular year is in Auburn at 1:00 in the afternoon. So that's
not too bad. You can go up a little early for the first one and kind of have a little pregame, if you will. But I know it's all TV driven of when they're going to play it. But there again, 4 figures to watch a regular season college basketball game. There again, drop the ball on that one. And I know the people that when I threw this out there years ago, it's a limited business opportunity. I'm opening up the window right now, and I had all these. I'm in. Where were you on the basketball proposition? Because, man, I think we dropped the ball on that.
Pennies. I mean, you could have invested pennies.
Yeah.
And now you'd be sitting so pretty.
Oh,
Pretty. Well,
so when we come back, you mentioned, Barry, mamas in college basketball. I want to touch on that a little bit. Also, some news about the upcoming NFL draft that there again, looks like I might have missed out on that one as well. Our usual Tuesday guests are going to join us. Brian Matthews from auburnsports.com at the bottom of the hour. Travis Reier talking Tide. Reier on YouTube at the top of the next hour. The Victoryland 777 topic wheel, your chats, your emails. We got a lot going on today.
Great to have you along with us here. Thanks to everybody in the chat line, brought to you by River Region Strong. But thanks for everybody else who's in, who never chats. We see you as well, the silent majority. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. Underway on our Tuesday live show in association with Yellowhammer News. This is Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, folks, let's start 2025 off on the right foot at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where you can get a 2024 Ford Bronco up to $10,000 off MSRP as low as $34,990. What about the popular Ford Escape? Well, you can get one as low as $24,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. You know, the Ford Explorer is what started the SUV craze back in the early 80s, and it's still going strong today. You can save up to $8,000 off MSRP as low as $33,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. But I know what you're asking me. John, what about the popular F-150, America's best-selling pickup for over 50 years in a row? Well, you can get a 2024 F-150 Crew Cab at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP, plus no payments for 90 days. And they've got plenty to choose from. I've never seen as many cars and trucks on the ground at Stivers as they've got there today. Go by and see for yourself. 4000 Eastern Boulevard, Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where Price sells cars and trucks.
Some days you hit snooze, but not today. Today you have to go on a run to get burgers for the tailgate. You've got to haul something heavy, a cooler stocked with Bud Light. When you've got beer and football, nothing is hard. Until the other team scores. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus, copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
All right, it's about 18 minutes past the top of the hour on this Tuesday, Longshore and McKnight. Presented by Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Brian Matthews in about 10 minutes or so, talking some Auburn sports. You know, Barry, it did cross my mind when I was watching the Alabama game the other night, saw Mark Sears on the bench the entire second half.
Saturday, the win over LSU at home.
And I thought, Mama's not going to like this. And the reason I thought that is because, well, they show Mark Sears' mother a lot during the broadcast. When he's at the foul line, they usually show her and this, that, and the other. That's great. It adds to the pageantry of college athletics. But I thought, boy, she's not going to like seeing that. And maybe not know the reasons why. I think she found out after the game. But I knew some reporter, somebody was going to get to her and say, hey, what'd you think about that? I've always been one that, let the coach and let your kids play. And I never had that happen to me, probably because I didn't play very much. So there's nothing for Pops to complain about. I mean,
and if he ever got yanked out of the game, everybody was like, well, yeah, probably about that time,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Hey, at least he got to play a little.
Yeah, exactly.
So
he almost broke out into a sweat there. That was good. All right.
And so that just wasn't my cup of tea. I never experienced it and never did it with my children. Hey, you're signing up to play. You know what's out there, and things don't go right. The coach wants to make a different move. You better be ready for it. So anyway, Mama spoke. I think she handled it pretty well. I mean, you could kind of tell she wasn't overly happy, but she didn't really go deep into it. But as I read the accounts of her thoughts about how it played out, I'm thinking, Boy, if he hits the bench again, she just might explode.
Yeah. And a little bit of his dad, too. Mark Sears' mama, her name is Lamika. And far be it from me to ever criticize anybody's mama. I know I'd be really ticked off if somebody criticized mine. But she is the one, especially last year when he was so dynamic and things were going well and he almost carried them to the Final Four last year. She's the one in the stands, and the camera can always find her. I think she likes it that way. Nothing wrong with that. Because she wears the shirt, the top, that has the crimson sequins on it, and with either her name or Mark Sears' number or Mark's name or Roll Tide or something in white sequins on her shirt and everything. And when he is shooting a free throw, she makes a bit of a show that she is shooting the free throws with him, you know. Yes. And when he makes it, you know, very demonstrative and all that. That's fine. She is reveling in the attention that she gets for being the mom of a really good college basketball player. But he didn't play in the second half against LSU. And of course, he's Alabama's best player, one of the best players in the country. And all the announcers, all of the people were wondering, why isn't Mark Sears playing? And his mama was not real happy about it. And she took to social media saying, you know, every player deserves a chance to regain their rhythm. And she said, Mark didn't perform poorly, in my opinion. Sometimes shots don't fall, but every player deserves a chance to regain their rhythm. She was very, very ticked off at the beginning about why he wasn't playing. John, you know this. I'm not telling you for your edification, but John, every player does not deserve a chance to regain their rhythm.
Well,
that is a misperception on Lamika Sears' part. When you're not playing well, you don't deserve the chance to keep on playing until you start playing well again. That is a fallacy. I'm not saying she's lying. I'm just saying she's mistaken about the chances.
Well, you're right.
You deserve.
You've got to put the players out there that can get you a W. And let's face it, Alabama's gotten a couple of new additions that are good. They can shoot, they can score. And maybe that, you know, is hurting Mark's time on the floor as well, because there's some other guys that can play. But if you're not playing defense, if you're not hustling, then you're going to see the bench. And Nate Oates has been very upfront about that. You know, what concerns me, and I know this happens all over the country, particularly this day and age with, you know, camps and specialized training in particular sports and kids playing one sport or whatever it may be. And their ultimate goal and the goal of a lot of family members is we're going to play professionally. We're going to be making a lot of money. And when that doesn't happen, then where do they turn? Who do they blame? Is it going to be Nate Oates' fault if Mark Sears is not a very productive professional basketball player? Is that what we're going to hear? Do they ever look at them in the mirror and say, maybe I'm just not good enough? You know, there again, I'm no scout evaluator. You know, if I had to bet on it, I don't think Mark Sears is going to be a great NBA player. He might end up playing overseas, might play in Europe or Turkey or somewhere like that, maybe start out in the G League. I'm just not sure he is going to be he can drive like he does in college in the NBA. I mean, they're going to be bumping him, hitting him. I don't think that's going to happen. But there again, you know, I don't think Jalen Milroe is going to be a good NFL quarterback, but what I'm hearing, he's going to be the number 3 pick in the draft. I don't get it.
We could be wrong. Yeah. But the thing, you know, Look, I know my mama's proud of me. Your mama's proud of you. That's what mamas do. I get that. And she is very proud of Mark. She also writes in this tweet yesterday to clarify her earlier comments that she was ticked off and Mark's dad said it was malpractice or something like that. She says, also, please understand that I am his mother and he will always be my son, period. Even when the ball stops bouncing, at what has been misinterpreted as disrespect is simply a mother's love and a level of protection. I will always be that mom. I don't doubt it. I'm not doubting her veracity or anything like that. But publicly, how do I say this? Publicly berating the coach for doing what he thinks, as John says, is the best for the team to get that W, publicly berating him and saying my baby deserved a chance to shoot out of his slump. That's not the love he needs. The love he needs, when he's not playing, does that mean that you can't be up in the stands with everybody looking at you, shooting along with him and making a big deal about that? I get a mother's love. Getting into a Twitter battle with the coach and with the fans that my baby should be playing, I'm not saying that's not love. I'm just saying it's a little bit misplaced.
Well,
John.
I think it is too, Barry. I don't think that's a good trend. I don't think that's a trend we need to go get into. That's not a path we need to go down. If every mother and daddy or family member is opinionated or complaining about, well, my brother or son or whatever is not playing enough, or why is he on the bench? I just don't think that's a path we need to go down. And there again, I could be an old fuddy-duddy, thinking old school. I mean, hey, coach has got the final word. It's his responsibility to get the team ready to play and to win. And if this is the best way he thinks he can get it done, then I've got to go, I've got to trust him to get it done. Now, if my relative or whomever is on the bench, yeah, it hurts. It kind of sucks. I'd like to see my brother or son or nephew or cousin playing. That's what I'm here for. And I think he's the best on the team, my opinion. But, yeah, I got to sit there and watch him sit on the bench while other people play. It's tough. Hey, I get it. I totally get it. But going down the path of being opinionated and maybe somewhat critical, I just don't think that's where you need to go. I don't think it does any good. I think it hurts the team overall.
That's exactly right. That's not mama's love. Mama's love is afterwards. Again, every family's relationship is different. For me, mama's love is afterwards saying, well, son, you're going through a little adversity right now.
And for
I just want to let you know that if you ever need to talk about it, if let's go get a pizza. Let's you and me sit, because I'm always going to, even when things aren't going well on the basketball court or in class or with your girlfriend or with financially, I'm always going to be there for you. Mother's protection is not getting on Twitter and screaming at the coach that he ain't playing her baby.
That's
just
exactly.
me.
I'm with you 100%. And, maybe this isn't the way you should do it. Maybe everybody doesn't do it this way. And you probably know, Barry, I'm a little impatient. I don't like to sit around. I like to know what I'm doing. I like to plan ahead. And, downtime just isn't for me. So, yeah, I mean, I've kind of got it planned out. I know when my son's going to get in the game. So if I just happen to show up, about 8 minutes left in the second quarter. Funny how he always shows up at this point in time. He always shows up here. He never shows up at opening tip. He's always here at the start of the second quarter. When my girls played volleyball, when they weren't in the game, did I go to the concession stand? Yeah, pretty much did. That was just kind of me. I felt like, why am I sitting here? I could go get a Coke and some popcorn.
Yeah.
Why am I coming at the opening tip? He's sitting on the bench.
The problem was when John would, he'd pitch in and do his part at the volleyball games, and he'd be like the line judge back there.
Yeah.
With his little red flag in one hand and a hot dog in the other. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. That's out. That's out. Yeah. Hang on. Yeah. No, that's in. Hang on just a minute. Hold up on the serve. Let me get my.
I would bring the team breakfast from time to time, and when it was my turn to do it, I'd do it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was all in.
Yeah,
no doubt. But if my children came home and I don't play enough, I need to play more. My responsibility, then practice better.
Yeah.
Practice harder.
I
so
always
bust your tail.
Since you bring that up, I remember one time, this is the one I got most value of out of all of them. There were a lot of really valuable ones. Remember when Nick Saban, who used to be the football coach at the University of Alabama back when they were, well, anyway, Nick Saban, he would bring in guest speakers. For some reason, he'd have Stephen A. Smith or he'd have Ernie Johnson Jr., but he had Kobe Bryant in. And Kobe was talking about, Kobe was committed now. Kobe was going to do the work and do this and have the sacrifice. He was going to he said, I'd have my mama or my aunt would say, oh, baby, you're not playing. You need to be playing. That coach is jerking you around. And Kobe says, I can't hear that. He says, I can't. He says, if I'm not starting, I don't want to hear everybody say, oh, man, you ought to be starting. You're better. He says, I can't hear that. I got to figure out what I got to do to be starting. What can I do? I got to figure this out. This ain't up to my mama. This ain't up to my uncle. This ain't up to anybody. Oh, Mark, man, you ought to be playing. No, you got to figure out what you got to do to get to be starting again or to make a contribution again or to help the team again rather than listen to everybody tell you how badly you got mistreated or how poorly they're coaching you or whatever. You got to figure that out. That's a mama's love to me. I say, hey, I'm here to support you. Whatever I need to do while you figure out what you need to do to get back on the court. That to me is
that's right.
Yeah.
I'm with you. All right, what do you say we take a timeout? Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com, scheduled to join us here this Tuesday morning to get a recap of what's going on with Auburn athletics. I'd love to get your thoughts on our chat, our River Region Straw chat. A lot of that's going on today. We really appreciate that. Tobias out in Arizona, he kind of hit on something that I mentioned. He says Alabama has two other guards who played well. Philon and Holloway are also better athletes than Sears. Oh, okay.
Well, all I know is that they were tied at halftime, and he didn't play in the second half, and they ended up, winning by 7.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a message. 32 minutes into our live Tuesday show. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. Their licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946. 5 minutes to the top of the hour. And O'Brien Matthews, AuburnSports.com, scheduled to join us here momentarily. No, he's set and ready to go. So as soon as he gets his link, we'll get him up to talk about Auburn's big win against Tennessee. And I think they hit the road to LSU tomorrow night.
Yeah, there were games. There are games that are scheduled tonight in the SEC. There are 3 of them beginning at 6. Number 12, Kentucky at number 8, Tennessee. South Carolina at Georgia. South Carolina is the only team in the league that does not have a winning record overall. They're 10-10. Oklahoma is at Texas A&M. Texas A&M's number 13 in the country. That's at 8 o'clock tonight. Auburn is at LSU at 6 tomorrow, followed by Alabama at 8 tomorrow at Mississippi State in an SEC Network doubleheader. Also tomorrow at 8 o'clock on ESPN2, Texas is at Ole Miss. So,
yep, it's kind of there again, I'm having to get used to it because we got like 3 games on Tuesday, 3 games on Wednesday. It used to be a bigger or a more games. It used to be like 1 on a Tuesday and like 6 on a Wednesday.
Yeah. But they would cannibalize each other. And, this was back in the days before Quad Box. Not that I couldn't imagine John is texting Strawboy and saying, hey, how can I get 4 basketball games on at once on my Quad Box? That didn't seem like the thing. I didn't realize this, but yesterday, I didn't think about it. The Alabama Football Coaching Association, the AFCA convention, was at the Embassy Suites downtown over the last couple of days. Kalen DeBoer was there. Hugh Freeze was there.
Happens every year. They have it down at the Renaissance every year.
Yep. And they spoke to some of the media out there. Man, we should have camped out there at the Embassy Suites.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever camped out for like a ticket or a sporting event or a concert.
That would require getting there early.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that.
Sound like all that stuff taken care of prior to the start of the event. I don't want to just, have to rush. I like my Larry, again, parking pass, I'm out. If there's not a parking pass included, forget it.
Yeah, and that includes, hey, John, I got you set up. I got you 4 tickets in the luxury box. You can pick up your parking pass at will call. No, I've got to have it in my hand before I leave. I ain't picking it up at will call or in the parking lot of McFarland Mall. No. If I don't have it before I leave, I ain't going.
Now, very quickly before we get to Brian, I will tell you this. I was a little nervous, but it's worked out every time I've done it. Mm-hmm. It's worked out every time I've done it. If I don't take my own vehicle and with a parking pass, because that's key. That is a must.
No question.
And say I'm in another city. I'm not in Tuscaloosa or Auburn where I'm taking my own vehicle, and I take an Uber. And I was a little suspect because getting you there is not the problem. It's getting the Uber when the event is over because everybody's looking for an Uber. So I was a little, worked up about that. But, as the old saying goes, money talks and something else walks. And every time I've done that, the last time I did it when I went to the Eagles concert in New Orleans at the Smoothie King, and I had an Uber take me to the event. I said, listen, I need you to be here when it's over. And he kind of looked at me, and I knew what that look was, and I peeled off a couple of bills, and I said, where you meet me? He said, I'll be right there when that concert's over. And and lo and behold, Barry, I walked out, boom, he was sitting right there waiting on me, zipped me back to my hotel. I was probably back in the hotel at the bar having a cocktail before the Eagles got to the dressing room. It was awesome.
A, that proves this point about money talking. B, that also proves what I've been telling your friends for years. He does have bills in that wallet, plural. He just, you just never see him. He opens that wallet and there's a bunch of moths that fly out and everything. But he does
some old ones. If you trace the serial numbers, those bills were probably pretty old.
Yeah.
All right, Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com, joining us on our City of Montgomery guest hotline. Hey, Brian, good to see you this morning. Hope you're doing well.
Last time I gave my Uber driver a couple of bills, I never saw him again. So,
Sorry,
I
I
was a
couldn't
little
break a
worried
fight.
about that, but
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he was there waiting on
Yeah.
me. It was awesome.
All right, Brian, let's talk about this because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Alabama, John was griping about this. Alabama played Texas A&M a couple of weeks ago. There were 88 free throws shot. Every time somebody breathed, they were shooting free throws. Was not the case on Saturday afternoon at Neville Arena. Auburn wins in an absolute rock fight against Tennessee by 2, Brian. The tone of that game, or the pace or the way it was played and everything, it was remarkable to me. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, I thought the officials let him play, but I just looked and there were 34 fouls called.
Yes.
So it was a really physical game. Both teams depend on their defense. Both teams try to extend their defense and really get in guys' faces and not let them get those free 3-pointers off. So and I also thought for Auburn's sake and Tennessee too, they were just off night shooting. Auburn missed some open threes, especially early, that I think kind of set the tone for the game, and those teams just went at it. I think Auburn and Tennessee both had to kind of drag themselves off the floor after that one.
And Johni Broome, nobody expected him to play that much.
No,
and he didn't look like he missed a beat, Brian.
Oh well, you can tell he wasn't 100%. He was kind of hopping around out there. Bruce Pearl talked about only playing him 20 minutes after the game. They played him 33, and even at not 100%, he's out there as putting up numbers as the best player on the floor and as SEC Player of the Week for playing in one game. So I just thought it was remarkable, his performance. And he was a difference to me in that game. And of course, Miles Kelly making that shot, making 2 big 3-pointers late was big too.
Yeah, and there again, I mean, I just don't see any drop-offs here. I know with Broome's injury, people were concerned. He's back, played well, but they played well without him. To me, it looks to me the only team that can beat Auburn is Auburn. If they have a bad night or they're just not all there, maybe they get to start reading their press clippings. I don't think that's going to happen. But I still just don't see a team out there, Brian, that's as good as they are, as deep as they are, and playing as a team as well as they are.
Right now, yes, but we're not even to February yet, and there are teams with more draft prospects, more talented players on it. Duke, of course, is one. They got 2 or 3 draft guys on their team that are going to get better as those guys, move forward, those freshmen especially, move forward in their college careers. So, I think Bruce Pearl, we talked to him after the game, talked about the book is kind of out of Auburn. He's got to find a plan B and plan C, keep adjusting, keep pushing his team to get better, because they can't be static or they're going to get to March in the most important time of the year and they're not going to be able to step up when the games are on the line. So, I mean, I'm not saying Auburn's somehow going to, turn into, a doormat or anything, but I do think they need to keep pushing themselves to be better.
In BMAT's Monday Musings at auburnsports.com, presented by Uncle Keith's Red Sauce, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
You pointed out the across-the-board strength of the SEC, and I think that, you mentioned, and I quote here, just 10 years ago, Bruce Pearl's first season at Auburn, the SEC had 1 team in the top 25 and just 2 others receiving votes. Yeah. What was the difference? What lit the candle there, Brian?
Mike Slive did, the late Mike Slive, at the SEC basketball tournament. I think it was about 12 years ago, 2014. He kind of issued a mandate. He said, this conference needs to invest more in men's basketball, needs to take it more seriously. And they did. They put more resources into it. They hired better coaches. That they just made it more of a priority, and we see the result of it. The SEC is incredible in basketball. It's replaced the ACC or the Pac-10 or the former Big East. The Big Ten, of course, has normally been a good basketball program. The SEC is the best in the country right now, and I don't think it's like a one-year thing. I think they've really pushed themselves to be this good year in and year out. And I think it all started back then.
And I remember Mike Slive making that statement, Brian, and I thought, wow, hallelujah, I'm ready. Glad to hear that. Now what we need is some of these schools. They've all done a great job. The rankings prove it out, and the rate and the win-loss record. There's some really good teams. Now they just need to get about 4 or 5 of these programs to build an arena that is up to date, modern, and efficient, and gets the fans more involved. Because we talked earlier in this week, there's several around. There's actually one not too far from where I'm sitting that should be have a wrecking ball on it.
Yeah,
and I even heard Bill Self, the coach at Kansas, over the weekend. He even admitted it. He says the SEC right now is the best league in men's college basketball.
Yeah, they really are. And, I think Auburn was fortunate in that they their plan for a new arena came about in 2010, or really before that. The plan came before that, but that was when we were still in that era of building, new stuff, and we didn't have the revenue sharing and the NIL and all the other stuff going on, which really makes it much tougher to do these projects. And back then, I think Neville was around 80 million or so, and now
I think it was 93, wasn't it, Barry?
John's number would fluctuate.
There you go. No, that's right. The final number was around 93. But I imagine now it would be.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, just this project,
140 is what I would think. Yeah.
This project in Tuscaloosa that they were released 2-3 years ago, I think it was 150, and now it's double. Because of the price of steel and concrete and all that type of stuff. And Barry and I were going over it yesterday. We're trying to think of all the schools. Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Mississippi State. I'm sure we're missing some that have old, antiquated arenas. I'm sure there's others out there as well that I'm missing. But there's, pretty good group that needs to kind of get in the game. But you're right. With NIL, that's the main focus now. Facilities don't seem to be that big of a deal.
It just makes it a lot tougher to do those major facility projects. You really got to plan ahead and really got to find a way to fit it into your budget along with, buying good players, right? So
I want to ask you about the atmosphere in there, but I want to lead into, do you have any accounts or any perspective what happened before the game with a rush into the arena? Do you know anything about that?
I mean, I haven't investigated it. I've seen some videos. I've read some stories that other writers have written, especially the Auburn Plainsman always does a great job of covering things like that. Auburn changed their plans a couple of times, and people are quick. I mean, this goes back decades. Are quick to blame people or kids or students when something like this happens. You can go back to the Who concert in the 70s. You can go to some tragedies in soccer. European soccer in the 80s. And, as that's gone by, we've seen that there are certain ways you have to handle big crowds, crushing crowds, crowds entering stadiums, or crowds trying to run up and get the best seats in an arena or something. And, I think Auburn kind of missed out on that, and they had a rush. And some people got hurt. I don't necessarily agree with their statement they put out where there are just minor injuries. I don't think 6 stitches in your face is a minor injury, but I mean, I guess we could quibble about that if we want to. Luckily there were not any, I would call them broken bones that I know of, or, anybody that had to go to the hospital and receive urgent, nobody was crushed, had life-threatening injuries. So that's good. But I think it's a good lesson to learn about being more careful in your planning process when you're trying to line up people and have them enter an arena where there's not assigned seating.
But there was, once they got in, the atmosphere was extraordinary, Brian.
It was. They turned out for College Game Day, which was 7:30 in the morning or so. I think when they opened it up, and then they were back that night 12 hours later. And we're moved up in the rafters now, where there's some standing room only, and the standing room only is 2 or 3 deep up there. So that just tells you how crazy it is. If you talk to an alumni or Auburn fan out there, it's a whole lot easier to get in a football game than it is an Auburn basketball game, which would never have been the case ever, until the last 7 or 8 years.
Junior Day, a lot of high-profile football players on campus. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I was focused, 100% on basketball, so I didn't really get into that too much. I know Auburn, Omar Mabson, the running back from Auburn High School who reclassified from 26 to 25, committed over the weekend. I did see him. He has, if you haven't seen him in 6 months, he is bulked up. He looks like much more like an SEC running back than he did maybe when I saw him at camp or saw him the opening game of the season earlier this fall. So I'm really impressed with that pickup. I think Auburn had a really tremendous junior day looking at all the names that were in, all the guys that were ranked high. There's a kid, Brodnick's from a safety from West Boca Raton, Florida, I believe. I think he's one to keep a close eye on as far as maybe a future commitment here, a guy who had a really good visit. And Sedarian Morgan is a wide receiver from Alex City. Stanhope Elmore, who also has been to Auburn a bunch of times, was back. And I think the Tigers are in great shape to land another top wide receiver.
One final question. They've got the girders, I guess, for the north end zone. For the give us an update over there on that at Jordan-Hare Stadium. I'm not asking for an architect's rendering or anything from you. Just how's it looking?
I have not been back there in a while. I did see a picture, and they're putting a pretty big scoreboard. Not as big vision as the one in the south end zone, but still pretty big. So they've got to put that big base down there to support it. So I think they're getting it up there, and the plan is to have that thing hung and ready to go for the 2025 season. So I don't have any like the specifics or anything how far along they are, but it's coming along. Baseball is just about done. I was over there a week ago. I would say most of the stuff down the right field line is completed. Maybe doing some work inside those boxes. Still working really hard on the boxes behind home plate, and it looks like they've got the seating above the green monster on the left pretty much done. So
that'll be cool.
The plan is to have it ready to go for opening day. So I know they're still working really hard out there.
Man, that's going to be exciting to see. Barry, I had an affection for that scoreboard in the northern end zone. It was kind of old school,
Did you say affection or obsession?
Oh, me too. I mean, it was the one that was in the south end zone back in the day.
Yeah.
I think when I was a student, maybe it was after that. But it's been
I can remember the old scoreboards where somebody during the week would have to go and remove the letters of the visiting team because the home team's name always was there, but then the visiting team, you had to move the letters and put the new ones up over that side of the scoreboard.
Yeah, it's like an Arby's sign or something, So same deal. Hey, Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com. I don't know if we differ on this. My Uncle Keith's red sauce, I'm an original guy. I think John's a hot sauce guy. You can get them both.
I'm not a hot guy. I like original. It's
good. Okay. That's my go-to as well.
And I know people argue about this all the time. I've never thought hot was a flavor. My wife is obsessed with hot sauce. She puts it on everything. And I'm thinking, why do you want hot? But
you can get two
to each his own.
It's a 2-bottle household now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like Taco Bell sauce. I like the mild. I think it tastes good, but the hot, you can have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't want it. It's like Uncle Keith's. I like the original.
I'm also original guy, so we're 3 for 3 right here, guys. And remember, you can get that at Publix, Piggly Wiggly, Renfro statewide. Order online, BMAT 15% off that order. Try it. Delicious.
Yes. Awesome. Also, social media. How can we find you other than AuburnSports.com?
Yeah, try me at BMATAU on most socials. I'm there cranking out the news for recruiting and footballing and portaling and basketballing and soon to be baseballing. So check it out. I appreciate it.
We will definitely do that, Brian. We appreciate your time each and every week, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Take care.
Yep. Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com. If you need to know what's going on with the Tigers, Brian is your man. Check him out. Brought to you by our City of Montgomery guest hotline. Yeah, I know people love hot sauce. I mean, I see it all over the place. And I don't know. There's certain things I like hot sauce in. I like a little in like gumbo. I like it on fried chicken. But like on eggs, I don't get hot sauce on eggs.
No, I don't get that. No, I don't either. My brother-in-law, I mean, if you can't light a fire with it, he isn't interested in it. I mean, like so hot you can't even think about what you want to think. No, I never have gotten that. Give me the original every time.
And I guess it doesn't matter. You kind of think hot sauce, big burly guy, tough guy. My wife, she's petite, and she's just small, dousing it. I mean, she's eating a ham sandwich the other day. She's just going like this, and I'm thinking, what's up with the hot sauce? Oh, I love it. It's the best. Blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, geez.
On eggs. I'm with you. That's a disconnect for me. I don't get that at all. Hey, we will get Travis Reier in just a little bit from Reier on YouTube. That's coming up. Let's take a break right here, though. We're almost halfway through the show.
No way.
Already. Man, we are zipping right through. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
All guests of Longshore and McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, folks, you got to take advantage of the incredible holiday savings at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where they sell America's best-selling truck for 50 years in a row, the F-150. And you can get an F-150 at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP and no payments for 90 days. Hundreds to choose from. Your F-150 is on the lot right now. Also, F-150 Lightnings. $15,000 off MSRP and 0% APR for 72 months. What about the stylish Ford Bronco? Up to $10,000 off MSRP, starting as low as $34,990. And it started it all with the Ford Explorer. You can get one for up to $8,000 off MSRP, as low as $33,900 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. Folks, Stivers Ford is loaded with cars, trucks, and SUVs priced to sell. Stivers Ford, 4000 Eastern Boulevard in Montgomery, where price sells cars. Okay, back at it a couple of minutes to the top of the hour. Travis Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide, will join us here in just a couple of minutes. Barry, on our River Region Straw chat line, Dennis Mitchell says I need to stop getting worked up. It will affect my blood pressure.
Life is short, I've seen John angry before, really worked up. He's much more cool and collected on camera, I think. He's just smooth on television. Also, this you and I have gotten into heated discussions about this in the past with some callers back in a different medium. Theotis, and our buddy John Dent have been getting into it. John is he roots for the Crimson Tide.
Okay.
Constantly, frequently, and unabashedly. But yet he went to school at Auburn. Theotis will point that out from time to time, because John will rant about the Aubs or whatever, and Theotis will always call him out. Hey, you went to school at Auburn. And at 7:53, John Dent responded. He said, Theotis, I matriculated there, but I am not an Aub. Boys, can we all agree on this? Can we break it gently to John Dent, because I don't think he's going to take it well? John, if you graduated from Auburn, you're an Aub. You might as well embrace it. There is no such sentence as I matriculated at Auburn, but I'm not an Aub. John, if you matriculated at Auburn, you're an Aub. He said, that said, Auburn is a nice town growing quite rapidly. Yeah. John, I hate to break it to you. You're an Aub.
I'm going to disagree with that.
We've always disagreed on that. I never have figured it out.
I went to school with some Albs in Tuscaloosa. Grew up in Auburn families. Went to every Auburn game, still do. But wanted to go to school with his buddies, and was a fraternity brother of mine, and they was all happy, fine and dandy. He did end up, obviously graduating at Alabama, but he still roots for Auburn. He's loves his Tigers athletically. Heck, my brother-in-law is a huge Auburn, went to graduate school at Alabama.
Well, I mean, graduate school is graduate school. You want to, maybe Auburn doesn't have the program or whatever, but so you're saying the definition lies not in it is a stronger qualification to root for that team's athletic, to root for that school's athletic teams than it is to hold a degree from that place in terms of whether you're an Aub or whether you're a Bama fan. It's much more important who you root for rather than where your degree comes from.
Yeah, I know people that grew up with me that were Alabama fans that went to school out of state.
Yeah.
And they're huge Alabama fans. I mean, I know some of them that are sitting on the first row at Coleman Coliseum for basketball games.
Yeah.
Got luxury boxes at Bryant-Denny, but they did not go to school at Alabama. They went to school out of state, but they are huge Alabama fans. But in terms of just boiling it down, Auburn or Alabama, one of my good friend's sons graduated from Auburn, huge Alabama fan.
That makes zero sense to me.
I think the curriculum that he wanted to study and advance in, it was offered at Auburn. It wasn't at Alabama. So he went to Auburn and sat there and bit his lip, sucked it up, had to listen to it for 4 years, but hey, got what he wanted.
But when it came to rooting for the people who he was actually sharing classrooms with or going down the hall with or anything, that doesn't have nearly the pull to the heartstrings. I'll never understand.
Let's ask Travis Reier his thoughts about that. I'd like to get his opinion on that subject today.
You don't want
Travis
to get
Reier
into this, Travis.
Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide with Travis. Travis, the question was, if you grew up, in an Alabama family, an Auburn family, but you went to college elsewhere, say you're an Alabama fan, but you went to Auburn and graduated, or vice versa, does that automatically make you an Auburn fan because you got a degree from Auburn but grew up an Alabama fan?
It's all what's in your heart, fellas. Goes back to the old ticker. And believe it or not, everyone isn't like Longshore and myself where we base enrollment on fandom. There are folks that if you want to be a vet, if you want to be a pharmacist, you're going to go to Auburn.
You got
to do. Actually serious about the academics.
If for some reason you decide you want to be a lawyer, I don't get that, but hey, you might want to go to school in Tuscaloosa. Yeah.
6 or 7 years, that was me and Longshore just an undergrad. For some folks, it's, the pharmacy school, the veterinarian,
a doctorate of
undergrad.
Yeah.
I mean, my first go around, I was majoring in Greek philosophy, as in New Old Row.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at Aristotle over here.
Well, Travis begins this segment by saying it's all what in your heart, which reminds me to catch Travis on the next Hallmark movie, a guest spot coming up from him. All that. First of all, and we're going to get to the Crimson Tide, I'm a little bit happy, although it's probably a misfortune that Trent Baalke is no longer the Jags general manager. I'm still trying to figure out what led the Jaguars to center on Liam Cohen as their head coach, Travis.
Trevor Lawrence. This is basically the fork in the road for Trevor Lawrence as the guy, as the quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So with what Shad Khan has invested in Trevor Lawrence, it almost had to be an offensive guy. It wasn't going to be Ben Johnson. So Liam Cohen's kind of that next guy up, or in that same, I think Liam Cohen can actually be in that same neighborhood as a Ben Johnson. I mean, neither of those guys has been a head coach. So what do we really know? But I like the Liam Cohen hire. Like, I would have probably been okay with Ben Johnson too, because I think both those guys get it where the run game is concerned. And I think the thing Trevor Lawrence needs as much as anything right now, he doesn't need another whisperer. You know, he's had a couple of those. What Trevor Lawrence needs is a run game. And when you talk about the Lions and you talk about Liam Cohen of the Bucks, last year you're talking about top 5 run games in the National Football League. And I think that can benefit Trevor because, as I've talked about before, Trevor Lawrence, to me, and some Jags fans, they cringe when I say this, his ceiling is Ryan Tannehill. And a lot of people hear that and they say, Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill was a pretty damn good quarterback.
He was all
but
right.
He had Derrick Henry to hand the football to. That helped him tremendously. And I think that's what Trevor Lawrence needs, because I don't think Trevor is elite just on his own. He's like 90% of the quarterbacks in the National Football League. You've got to put help around him, and the more you can do that in the run game, the better.
Sticking with the NFL, Travis, and I was going to get to this later, but I'm just real interested in your opinion. I'm no draft expert, never been in an NFL draft in my life, but I followed it. I'm seeing reports that the New York Giants, the Cleveland Browns might make Jalen Milroe their first pick as high as, number 3 in the draft. I just don't get it. What am I missing here?
Well, I kind of hear what you're saying until I think about previous drafts. When I saw Anthony Richardson go where he went to the Indianapolis Colts, or, there's been situations, Ryan Leaf, although there was more of a on-the-field sort of documented level of performance from him at Washington State all those years ago. So, there's different things that go into it. I've always said NFL teams they get the new quarterback fever, especially following a year in which they didn't get a Jaden Daniels, or a Drake May, or a Caleb Williams, like the Giants didn't last year when they stood pat with Daniel Jones and let Saquon Barkley walk. I think the urgency ramps up on some of those teams too. I think both those teams need quarterbacks though. So we talked about it before. Once you get past Shedeur and you get past Ward, it's a race to see who that third guy is. And if you're in that mix for a top 3 or 4 guy in this draft, like Jalen is, you certainly have a chance to be a first round guy. But top 5 that's high, I think, for Jalen.
I do as well. Travis Reier is with us, Reier on YouTube. There was a piece I want to say it was Ryan Clark, had a video interview on his podcast called The Pivot, where he was asking Saban, evidently, what was the ultimate circumstances as to why you decided to retire as the head coach. And he said, and of course I'm paraphrasing, that it wasn't the NIL, it wasn't the transfer portal. He said last year we struggled early. His last year we struggled early. We had a young quarterback who got really a lot better during the year. The team got a lot better during the year. But the coaching staff wasn't as great as the staffs that I had before, and I had to work a little bit harder or a lot harder, and I just couldn't sustain that anymore. I'm not sure that should have been said, but do you agree with that?
Well, he also said, though, in that interview, that if he coached again, it would be in the National Football League, which to me is sort of telling on yourself about the current state of college football. Why would you go to the NFL if it wasn't NIL that played at least some role in you deciding to move on? So I thought it was a fascinating interview on multiple levels. It was very enjoyable. Those guys, I thought, did a great job with it. I think it did, though, and he kind of alluded to this even while he was still in the job. It was harder and harder to keep guys he really wanted on his staff because Kirby would hire guys, Lane would hire guys.
Sorry.
And Nick at one time had it where it wasn't just his on-the-field staff that was so good. He was the pioneer of this almost second staff with the support staffers. So he had a secondary staff 10 or 12 years ago that was better than most the on-the-field staffs of top programs around college football. Well, those started getting picked apart. Other programs followed suit, started expanding support staff, those type of things. So I'm sure it did become a good bit more difficult. It's interesting that he says that. You wonder maybe who specifically he was talking about in that regard.
Yeah.
I see where Tommy Rees, though, has been promoted to the OC in Cleveland. That's right. So you could have a Jalen Milroe, Tommy Rees reunion. Maybe
boy.
that's something some of these folks are considering. But I have no doubt that was tougher for him. But again, he also was pretty clear that if he did coach again, it would be in the National Football League.
Travis, what'd you think about when he was asked who his top 5 players that he coached in Alabama were?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. You kind of have always wondered these kind of things, and and I think there were some guys that even in real time, you could tell, they were going to be on that list of if there was ever a top 5. But there's some things that Nick's far more willing to talk about now than even 8, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, 12 months ago, he never would have talked about.
Do you agree with my takeaway from what Saban was talking about? If he coached again, he'd coach again in the NFL. Is it because being an NFL head coach is easier than being a college football head coach, Travis?
I don't know if anything's easier for him, because I think for Nick, it probably works both ways. There's part of him, especially at his age now, where he would cherish more of the structured approach to the NFL, knowing exactly when your downtime's coming, knowing exactly what sort of period you're in, whether it's the draft process, whether it's free agency, whether it's training camp. There is obviously that in the National Football League. That being said, I often wondered how much Nick liked being off anyway, so there's that part to consider in it. But yeah, I think that him sort of knowing, what he's got to work with, and with the payroll structure now coming into college football, that was something that I think he took great relief in sort of going from pros to college.
Let's switch to basketball. Alabama gets the win on Saturday night, but as I watched the game, Travis, it felt to me kind of like the game against Ole Miss a week prior to that, a game in which Alabama lost. And, of course, Alabama ended up beating LSU, but it was a struggle all night. Alabama was about an 18-point favorite in that game and, wins it by, 6-7 points.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. It was a grind for the most part. And obviously the sort of byproduct of all that was the benching of Mark Sears there in the second half, which all heck is broken loose here in the last couple of days in relation to that. But I think it goes back to, Nate, a couple of things. He is true to his word when he says he's not afraid to go to his bench, regardless of who it involves. And Nate's also kind of impulsive at times. If he's really not happy with a situation, he has no problem sort of taking action against that, whether it's referees or his own players or playing time minutes. But look, this is still a deep Alabama team at the guard position. You saw it with Aiden Holloway. He benched Sears for a half. Holloway looks like Sears, in his place. And this is without Latrell Wrightsell. So, it kind of speaks to the depth they have in that backcourt. Miss Sears obviously had her comments on the situation the last couple of days. That speaks to kind of the era we're in too, not just with social media, but, some other things that are in play now in college athletics that weren't 4 or 5 years ago. And I'll say this about Mark too, and probably this goes into his entire family in terms of his route to Alabama. There's probably still some chip on the shoulder where Mark Sears and his family is concerned, because it wasn't a situation where he was a top 30 recruit or a 4 or 5 star player coming out of high school. This guy went to the MAC. He took the road less traveled, almost JUCO from that regard.
Right.
MAC basketball is certainly good. That's not to say it isn't. But I think some of that probably, resonated in what we've seen the last couple of days, even though he is now a star, All-American type. I think there's probably some of that that's still there, and I think that's a good thing. I do. I fathered a kid that took that kind of route, and that's how she did it.
But there
certainly is. I know where you're going. I think, Barry, that's not the approach to take. That was my next point. That type of situation, you got to harness it. You got to direct it in the right place, and you don't want to disrupt the dynamic of a team that certainly has a lot of potential down the road, right?
Well, Travis is the parent of a former Division I basketball player. I don't know if she ever got benched because she could shoot the rock.
Oh,
but
she got benched.
But I could check your Twitter. I don't think I've seen anything on the Travis Wire account to call the coach into question.
Well, look, behind the scenes there were times where it was contentious. It is for every player, and you've got to be more of the sounding board and the level-headed individual in it all when those times arise. And my point to Savannah always was, well, are you taking away every reason why your coach isn't playing you? Can you look in the mirror and say, I'm taking away every reason why I'm not playing, or I'm not playing more than I want? If you're doing that, then okay. But 9 times out of 10, I would guess, that's not the situation. There's always something that you can do to improve your chances of being on the floor. And with Nate, playing defense is a non-negotiable. So even if you're having an off night on the offensive end, that doesn't give you a pass on the other end. And again, he's got options, as we've seen.
Yes, we have seen, and I'm with it. I'm kind of like you, Travis. Kind of grew up that way, and it builds character. I've always said. Yeah. Kalen DeBoer and his staff out and about. I know they got a junior day event coming up, but doesn't look like they're slowing down when it comes to the recruiting. I understand they've been kind of working the in-state talent recently.
Yeah, it looks like some new offers when you talk about 2026s, and that's kind of the way it works, as we know. And Courtney Morgan kind of heading that thing up. That's been a consistency. It's kind of flown in the face of what a lot of the talk was a year ago about Kalen DeBoer coming in there. The expectation was, with the talent lining up, with him coming in there and that staff, there wouldn't be much, if any, drop-off on the field. Well, there was. And then at the same time, the concern was, from a recruiting perspective, how much of a drop-off would there be? And there may be a little bit, but on paper anyway, it hasn't been much at all. So, they continue to do really positive things in that regard. And now your NIL is such a big part of it. You continue to try to build and, war chest that thing where you're able to compete with the other programs that are going to be in that mix on a yearly basis.
We're going to ask you on our visit next week about the Super Bowl. But John has brought this up a couple of times this week. They're projecting in 2026, John, is that right? 27, that the national championship game in college football would be played on January the 25th. How does that strike you?
That's late. I mean, you're basically going to get into a deal where you're spanning all of the fall. Obviously, fall semester. Now you're starting to really dig into the spring semester. I know some places are on quarters, I guess, still, not many anymore. I think that'll probably be the biggest concern. But I can see it, too, trying to kind of stay in lockstep with the NFL a little bit, bridge the gap maybe between the conference championship games in the NFL and even the Super Bowl. Because you got a big hole in this weekend coming up, and that could be a situation that could become attractive, I guess.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, Travis, but you're right. We were talking earlier. What are we going to do this weekend? There's no football, but man, this would be a good weekend.
There's the touch football, right? Is that this weekend? We get the.
I think it might be.
I think it is. Yeah.
Even though Pro Bowl games.
it would stretch it out. And that's been my big thing. I mentioned I got college football fatigue because I love the expanded playoff, but I just think the schedule is just drawn out so much. I'd like to compact it a little bit more. But I also hadn't really thought about this. I mean, you got this weekend coming up, nothing happening. The college game could own it this weekend. Yeah. Even though it's late, they could certainly own it.
Yeah, Saturday night this weekend.
Yeah.
National championship game or yeah, that could be big. Although we know they've liked being on Monday night, you know. It seems like for that.
You know, and I don't know why they went to Monday night, Travis. And this, I believe, I'll have to research it later today. I think it was the last time they did it. But when Alabama beat Texas for the national championship in Pasadena, that game was on a Thursday night.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with hoops. How Hoops plays the championship game on a Monday night. I'm sure they have data. They kind of support, the analytics.
Yeah,
the analytics.
Well,
sure.
I'm looking right now on Twitter, X, Travis Reier, at Travis Reier. Lots of different content there as well. And YouTube, I mean, it's never ending. Sometimes I think you might as well just live stream your life. You put out so much content, Travis.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you can catch me on X at Travis Reier, TravisReier. Also on YouTube, Reier on YouTube. We will have a Jacksonville Jaguars reaction show later today to the Liam Cohen.
I'm in.
Liam Cohen. If ever there was a coach whose name should coach the New England Patriots or Boston, anything, it's Liam
Cohen. Or Arsenal or Manchester United.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna be concerned that he gives me some Arthur Smith vibes, but we'll see how it goes.
Hey, I'm trying to figure out who the Saints are going to hire. I mean, are they going to hire anybody? What's going on down there?
Gosh, maybe Wade Phillips. Is he still around? Bum's son. That way you can come full circle with that.
Yeah, he's always like the favorite.
Oh, man. Travis. We had Hank Stram. We had Mike Ditka. We had Bum Phillips. I mean, gee whiz.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Travis, as always, appreciate the time and insight. Thanks a bunch.
Thanks, guys.
All right, buddy. Thank you. We'll talk next week. That is Travis Reier on YouTube. All right, when we get back, somebody's got to explain it to me. I just don't get it. And also, Barry, one of these way too early kind of things came out yesterday. Not so much a top 25 poll, but a college football bracket prediction that caught my eye. We'll talk about that and other topics when we return.
In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Hey, this is Barry McKnight from Longshore and McKnight, telling you about our friends at River Region Straw. You're not buying sticks or stems and pine cones. You're buying premium long needle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River Region, full of color, that'll last all season long. They've got locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small. From a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load, River Region Straw also has seasoned firewood for the cold days and nights ahead. Pickup is available, and your order can be delivered if you like. They can even spread your pine straw if that's what you want to have happen, for sure. Call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw and firewood needs at River Region Straw.
Heads or tails, kick or receive, with the wind or against the wind. Buy your friend a Bud Light, buy a stranger a Bud Light. Go to your team's bar, go to the opposing team's bar. Buy around during the next truck commercial, buy around during the next talking duck commercial. If you're truly up for whatever this weekend, grab the perfect beer for whatever happens. Crisp, refreshing Bud Light. Make two plans and let the NFL coin toss make the call. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com. Back at it here on this Tuesday. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
Yep.
Look, I'm no expert. I'll be the first to tell it. I remember making a statement years ago. I just don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be a great NFL quarterback. He's proved me wrong. I will say, though, I think being on the right team has a lot to do with it.
Oh, no
I'm
doubt.
not sure Jalen would be as successful with the Browns or the Jags or
the Saints.
The Saints. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think of the Giants. Some of these other teams.
Yes.
I just don't get it with Milroe. I'm hearing the Cleveland Browns want him. I'm hearing the Giants want him. And I hate to take the cheap route and say, are there just not a lot of good quarterbacks in this year's draft, which I think is the case.
There's no doubt that's the case, and that's why he's doing it this year, because he can get drafted.
Not as strong overall, but Barry, there's nothing I've seen in 2 years of him being the quarterback at Alabama that convinces me this guy can operate a professional NFL offense. He can dissect a NFL defense. I mean, his athletic ability and his ability to scheme and plan and check out of bad situations and put his team in a great position against NFL defenses. Yep, slam dunk, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
I love the phrase. We get some good stuff from our chat line. I love the phrase from Tobias when Travis Wright was talking about Anthony Richardson getting drafted, number 4 by the Colts. And he didn't do a ton at Florida, but he is an amazing athlete. Tobias says that's because he did so well in the Underwear Olympics, which is the combine. You know, he calls it the Underwear Olympics because for some reason, and this is creepy, you have an entire amphitheater full of NFL personnel guys, and the place is packed to watch these prospects get weighed in their boxer briefs, which is kind of weird. I still remember Andre Smith for Alabama coming out there. It's like, wow. But that's the reason why, John. It's not because of, man, look how he processed information or look how quickly he, checked down or whatever. It's because he is going to do really, really well in the combine, in the measurables. He can run really fast. He can throw really far. He can move. He's pretty agile. He's not as agile as he is fast because he still gets stuck in the pocket a lot. But in terms of the shuttle run or, the football toss or the 40, he may be the best out there. I mean, he may knock the speed guns out of their hands. But it's the other stuff that you're talking about. And who knows, maybe NFL coaches are kind of overconfident in their abilities. We can teach them all this stuff about X's and O's and how to throw against a Tampa 2 and all that kind of stuff. But, John, I'm with you on this. He could he was the Campbell Award winner this year, the top scholar athlete in NCAA football. He's a smart kid. I'm sure he could take all of that information and memorize a playbook. I'm sure of it, John.
Yeah, sure.
And somehow, when a guy's breathing down his neck and your primary receiver ain't open, he ain't processing it. You and I both know. We know people who are as smart as can be, who have great IQs, but not necessarily great football IQs.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And there again, look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he has an incredibly successful NFL career. I'm just basing it on what I've seen in 2 years in Tuscaloosa. And I got to tell you, some of his effort this year, I mean, was he just looking ahead to the NFL? Because some of the
still
effort
gripes you about him trying to trip somebody on that pick six at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and there were other games I thought maybe he just wasn't 100% there.
The pick six against Oklahoma.
I got to think that NFL scouts and general managers are going to be asking the same questions. What were you thinking about here? What was going on? What did you not see? This, that, and the other. Look, Peyton Manning had a long, illustrious career in the NFL and made a ton of money. He wasn't a very good athlete.
No. He may have been as unathletic as any quarterback in the NFL. I can probably think of a couple of others as well. Again, really good stuff on the chat line. We were talking to John Dent about, John, if you graduated from Auburn, you're an Aub. That's what killed me. I matriculated at Auburn, but I'm not an Aub. That's the definition of being an Aub. He responds that, well, Barry, was a Gator, but he presents himself as an Aub. That's my point, John. Keep up. I went to school at both places. I actually paid tuition at both places. I was there. I got credit hours and all that. That's exactly what I'm talking about, John.
I think it's like this. If you were born in the United States, you are a U.S. citizen. That's, hey, wow, I'm a U.S. citizen. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
But in the state of Alabama, you're either born an Aub or a Bammer. One of the two. It doesn't matter. And you don't leave that hospital until the delivery room. Hey, we got a new little Aub. And that's just the way it is.
It's not on your birth certificate. Footprint, male, female, X, whatever, weight, color of eyes, Aub, and then the doctor signs off on it.
I don't know. So I don't think I think you're born and raised as a particular fan. My nieces and nephews, my sister's children all went to Ole Miss. They all graduated from Ole Miss. They're big Aubs. Oh,
but they'll root for Ole Miss, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, what I kid them about
so much.
What I kid them about, Barry, they conveniently root. If Ole Miss is doing good, they're Ole Miss fans. If Auburn's doing good, they're Auburn fans.
John Dent, does that describe you? I mean,
it's whatever's most convenient.
Well, okay, so he's a Bama fan. I get that. But it looks as though he actively roots, at least on the chat line, he actively roots against the school from which he holds a degree. He wants them to be unsuccessful. He doesn't like them to be good or anything like that. That's just interesting to me.
The guy, I knew people that, there again, I went to school with, and they enjoyed the university, everything that it had to offer, maybe more than should have. But there again, wanted a business degree. Also enjoyed the social aspects of it. I mean, I can remember sitting in Legion Field, and he wasn't up and cheering and had a shaker and going crazy, but he was enjoying himself and having a good time. And
that's all it is. I get that. I sign on to that. Also, very good to see my good friend Walker Sandlin on our chat line. Walker's one of my favorite guys, and he joins us on the chat line. Good to see him.
Love it.
He was talking about Florida, the sexual assault allegations against their men's basketball coach, Todd Golden. The university had an investigation, found no truth to any of the rumors, and so their investigation shows that he's clean and green. I don't know if there's going to be a civil lawsuit or a criminal investigation or anything, but that's what Walker was checking in on it as well. So,
Barry, I think I've mentioned this before on the show. If I had to do it over again, and I can hit the rewind button, one thing I would seriously consider, like one of my good friend's children did, he went to Auburn. He grew up a big Alabama fan.
Right.
But, Auburn offers a degree in conjunction in a partnership with Delta Airlines. And this came about 10, 15 years ago, I believe.
Right.
I don't know exactly what the degree or the curriculum is called, but I do know
aviation management. It's exactly what it is. You're exactly right. They have it in conjunction with the Robert O. Pitts Auburn Opelika Airport. Yes.
I would have seriously considered that. I mean, I grew up a huge aviation buff. I still love it.
Oh, yeah.
When I was a little kid, my father took me with him when he traveled a lot, and that's where I kind of got the bug. And I used to thought airports were the coolest thing, and I would collect the timetables that all the airlines printed out every month, and I'd go through those like a fine-tooth comb, and I had model airplanes of airliners, and, of course, ended up marrying a flight attendant, which was just an unbelievable experience in so many different ways. So I would have seriously thought about that, because that's something that I'm very interested in. It's only offered there as far as I know. I would have had to bite my lip, maybe hold my nose a little bit, but I would have seriously considered that. But knowing me as you do you think if I went to Auburn for 4 years and got a degree in airline management or whatever it's called, that I would end up being at Auburn 4 years?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Bada get a bar.
There's only one way that I can think of that I'd turn into an Aub, and that's if they're paying me. I mean, if they want me to dress up like Albie for a season, or if they want me to go out and solicit and raise funds for them, I am all in. Damn Eagle.
I'm going to take that point to its absolute stretching point, very likely past the stretching point of belief, and say, I can't even hardly imagine this, but please help me form the words. If John's academics were good enough to have earned a full, academic scholarship, if he ended up getting a degree from Auburn in aviation management on a full academic scholarship, every nickel of it paid for, you got your degree, you wouldn't put that diploma on the back of your home office, or you wouldn't have your pilot pin or whatever underneath a little interlocking AU on your lapel?
No.
Full scholarship.
No. I know with no lapel pins. Now, I might have my degree hanging from the wall.
Full scholarship.
Maybe. But, let's be realistic here. I
know the academic scholarship through you.
I think Pops is paying the tuition on that one. But let's just for funsies, let's say I did.
All right. Okay.
No. Now I've said this before. If there again, number 3 child's in Alabama at this moment right now. But if number 4 and 5 get a full Scully at Auburn, hey, War Eagle. I'm all over it. Parents' weekend, got the orange and blue on, yucking it up with all the Aubs. But, is that going to make me go sit in Jordan-Hare Stadium? Look, I went through that about 10 years ago. When my wife caught my eye and I'm doing anything I can to impress her, she goes, "You want to go to the Auburn game?" Sure, I'm all in.
I remember that. I remember that. He takes a selfie from the stands over there, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me.
I think Gern Jr. might have that picture. Maybe put up on the screen.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that'll win a couple.
But I'm doing anything. Okay. I said, sure, I'll go. Yeah. And we went over there 4 or 5 times. I'm thinking, I'm biting the bullet, doing whatever it takes.
But
gosh, heck yeah, if she wants to go, I'm in.
Number 4 child, number 5 child gets an academic scholarship at Auburn. You're going over there to Parents' Weekend. You got to go over and select an orange and blue rep tie to wear at those events. You doing that?
I've got a friend whose daughter went to Auburn. He had to do it. He had to suck it up. He had to go over there and do it. He's a big Bammer, still is today. But, you got to do what you got to do. And whether it's, for your children or whether it's for love, who knows? Yeah. But you got to do it. But I don't subscribe to if you go 4 years as an undergraduate that you got to be or you're going to end up, or you got to be a fan of that team.
Of that school, of everything. I mean, that is a total disconnect. I've lived my entire childhood wrong. Then, two-time caller of the year, JD says JD grew up a Bammer. Papa JD was a Bammer, and so that's what JD became. JD followed a girl to Auburn. It was easy to become a Barner circa 2002, 2006. JD has stayed true to the Aubs since and is raising Aubs. Thank you, JD. I'm not totally.
So I had sent Gurn Jr. the photo that you were talking about, Barry. People didn't believe it. They did not believe that I was inside Jordan-Hare Stadium, so I had to have some video, physical evidence of it.
John is no way technologically savvy enough to have photoshopped this. This is also what I told myself.
No way.
That wasn't happening.
But I just, I think there again, if you go out of state, that doesn't matter. If you grew up at Auburn, if you grew up a Bammer, you go to school out of state, it's easier to stay true to who you grew up with. I mean, say you went to like my wife. Well, there's the photo right there. There's the video evidence.
That's exactly it. That guy in front of him is saying, I am never buying these tickets again. That guy will not be quiet.
I tell you, one of the games, Barry, Auburn was losing, and she looks at me and goes, come on, let's go. We're going home. I went, whoa, where are we going? This is great. That didn't go over well. But she's a perfect example. She graduated from Georgia. Now, she's a dog. She loves those dogs, but I'm telling you, Barry, deep down, she's an Aub. She's an Aub. The 4th and 31, the Auburn Alabama game.
I vaguely.
We're watching it with the group, with some friends and whatnot, and that play happens. She gets up and walks down the hall, and I heard something come out of her mouth that I've never heard her say before.
You didn't follow her down the hall to see what was matter. No, good. Good.
I let her calm down. I let her cool off a little
bit. Yeah. That's a good point from Bill from Baltimore on that picture. He said, is that proof John doesn't need suites? I mean, he can go to a game and sit out in the stands.
Show that picture again, girl. Let me get a better picture.
Did he bebop in the last minute? Yeah.
I kind of did bebop in there a little bit. There again, I couldn't comment. I mean, I was a guest. It was very interesting as I came through the portal and I'm working my way down. I mean, believe me, you can sense when people are looking at you or talking about you. Mm-hmm. I could sense it. I mean, it was all good. And then once I sat down and everything was good, kept my mouth shut, didn't do anything stupid or outrageous. Then came back a couple of 3 games, after that. Now it's kind of like I had a little friend group there in that little section. It was kind of nice.
Definitely weird. Let's take a break right here. More to come. We may hit a topic wheel. It all depends on how we're feeling. I do want to give you some extra credit reading, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Philip Marshall has hit it out of the park. When we come back, Philip Marshall, AuburnUndercover.com, stories from 50-plus years of college sports.
Excellent.
In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
This isn't going to work. No matter what we say, some people still drive drunk. But we're Budweiser. Giving a damn is what we do. So, if you think it's okay to drive drunk, if you think it's something that's debatable, or you just simply don't care, this Bud is not for you. Give a damn. Don't drive drunk. Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders. Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry is an Alabama-based, family-owned and operated business that specializes in dry cleaning and laundry serving the river region since 1941. There are 12 convenient locations across the river region. Find one close to you or call 481-1911 for free pickup and delivery. For 83 years, Central Alabama has trusted Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry. You should too.
Okay, back at it about 15 minutes to the top of the hour here with Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Barry, this is why it's worth the $9.95 a month. I mean, going down memory lane with PM, unbelievable. Man, this is, I mean, I just can't, I can't tell you how good this is.
I knew it, mind-blowing. I knew we risked the chance of just losing John for the rest of the show. AuburnUndercover.com, Philip Marshall, the senior editor or something like that. He's John's favorite writer. Stories from 50-plus years of college sports. Sonny Smith at the NCAA, at the SEC tournament. Miles Patrick, cold cocking a guy in the Butler game. Pat Dye giving a forearm shiver to one of his assistant coaches in the middle of the field. Andre Bruce and his machete.
Man.
Outside linebacker Andre Bruce, the first player chosen in the 1988 NFL draft, was a prankster supreme in his time at Auburn. On one occasion, assistant coach James Daniel, a very serious man, was doing bed check and stepped quietly into Andre Bruce's room. This is back in the old Sewell Hall where you used to have athletic dorms and used to be able to do that. Bruce had taken off his clothes and covered his body with baby powder. He sneaked up on Daniel, brandishing his 22-inch machete.
Ooh.
Bruce said he screamed real loud and ran out of the room. No, Bruce said that. Yeah, Andre said he screamed real loud, ran out of the room. Daniel, not amused, invited Bruce to join him for breakfast at 6 a.m. the next day. Andre said he ate, and I ran stadium steps, but it was worth it. The man finally showed some emotion. Bruce once ran onto a field on which 500 high school cheerleaders were participating in a clinic. Waving the machete in the air, he sent it screaming teenagers running for cover. That was the end of the machete pranks. Auburn coaches confiscated it.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
It's loaded with stuff like that. Doc Robinson, Brandon Robinson rolled his ankle against Vanderbilt. The athletic trainers told Cliff Ellis he's not going to be able to return. Then Brandon Robinson's mama came out of the stands to the bench. She knelt in front of her son and began to massage his ankle. In a matter of minutes, Brandon Robinson stood up, told Cliff he's ready to go back in. And he did.
Let's do it, Coach.
Yeah. Vandy won the game by 6, though, so yes.
Chris the Bammer loved our little PM segment there. Chris, we got even more good news for you. We got some Victoryland 777 topic wheel information coming at you as well. Gurn Jr. can get that loaded up for us, and we can spin that wheel and see what's on it today. I know yesterday I know we missed it a little bit, but we were a little busy. So today we want to make sure we get it going. All right, Gern, give it a big spin. See what comes up on our Victorland 777 topic wheel today.
We can handle 4. 4 is no problem.
Yeah, no sweat. I thought I added one. Hey, that's the Power T. That means the Troy Trojans, after a big win against South Alabama there at Trojan Arena on Saturday, kind of a get-back game, if you will, from a loss to the Jags earlier. That was a big win. So what's on the horizon for the Trojans in the coming week?
They had to catch up a little bit. Remember, Thursday, Troy was supposed to play Southern Miss at Trojan Arena last Thursday, but the snow kept Southern Miss from being able to travel over. They played last night. I had it on ESPN Plus, and Troy won that game. Final score was 70-61 Trojans. Troy led by 27 in that game. They led by like 19 late in the game and let Southern Miss back in. Troy will be back at home on Thursday against the Georgia Southern Eagles, 6 o'clock. Healthcare Appreciation Night, $5 reserve tickets for all healthcare professionals. My guy Landon Howell at jlhowell@troy.edu is the man to contact about that. And then on Saturday against ULM at Trojan Arena, it's men's basketball letter winners day, 2-for-1 ticket specials as well at Trojan Arena. Again, 6 o'clock on Thursday at home, and then 3:30 on Saturday afternoon.
Perfect. Oh, man. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So good stuff happening there for the Trojans. All right, Gern, see what's up next on the Victorland 777 topic wheel. See what comes up next in our category. Spin away.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
And it is, SEC hoops. 3 games tonight, 3 games tomorrow, but a full slate on Saturday. And I hate to jump ahead to Saturday, but I got to tell you, I don't like the tip times on Saturday. They're not doing it for me.
Saturday, again, it's all about John's convenience. It's for him. On Saturday, Auburn is at Ole Miss, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. ESPN, the number 1 Tigers, garnering an ESPN platform on Saturday. Alabama plays at 3 on the Deuce at home against Georgia.
So you're going to ruin my Saturday afternoon by having to tip at 1 and at 3? I mean, really?
What else were you going to do? There's no football on.
Am I going to sit at home on my Barca lounger and do that? I don't know. I guess everybody from time to time has got to play games that don't fit my schedule. So I'll have to listen.
For some reason, John has to come to grips with the fact that it's not all about him. That's weird.
Man, shouldn't they be trying to make their customer base happy? Isn't that what it's all about?
Are we talking about you? Are you the representative of the entire customer base? Look, if it's not convenient for me, it probably ain't convenient for anybody.
You know, Barry, as long as we've known each other, and until you prove me wrong, I'm right.
And even if you do prove me wrong, you're going to have to really work at it, because I still am going to think I'm right, but we'll just move on. They do play this week.
Yeah, they do.
They do play this week, but both Auburn and Alabama play on the road. Both of them play tomorrow night. There are games tonight. They play tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. It's an SEC Network doubleheader Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Auburn at LSU at 6. Number 4, Alabama at number 14, Mississippi State at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
I do think we have one more break left today, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, let's take one anyway.
Maybe I figured out, because I do want to mention, you mentioned ESPN.
I did.
When we get back, there's something I do want to talk about when it comes to ESPN, but we need to take one final break on this Tuesday edition of Longshore McKnight.
Presented by Bud Light.
Oh, we're back.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
Hey, folks, let's start 2025 off on the right foot at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where you can get a 2024 Ford Bronco up to $10,000 off MSRP as low as $34,990. What about the popular Ford Escape? Well, you can get one as low as $24,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. You know, the Ford Explorer is what started the SUV craze back in the early 80s, and it's still going strong today. You can save up to $8,000 off MSRP as low as $33,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. But I know what you're asking me. John, what about the popular F-150, America's best-selling pickup for over 50 years in a row? Well, you can get a 2024 F-150 Crew Cab at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP, plus no payments for 90 days. And they've got plenty to choose from. I've never seen as many cars and trucks on the ground at Stivers as they've got there today. Go by and see for yourself. 4000 Eastern Boulevard, Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where Price sells cars and trucks. Okay, back at it a couple of minutes to the top of the hour. Glad you're with us here on this Tuesday. Barry, I finally got to catch a little of this made-for-TV golf event on ESPN last night.
Right.
I really wasn't looking for it. Somebody texted me about it. I thought it was interesting that they actually pushed a college basketball game to another ESPN network because this event was going a little long.
This wasn't Manhattan versus St. Bonaventure. This was the Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah. And I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. But, you know, maybe the younger demographic enjoys it. To me, it just hitting a ball into a simulator and then finally getting it on the green and chipping and putting around an artificial surface that can move and change its configurations. Okay, that's great. There's an official on the green as well, which I can't figure out why they've got an official or referee, or if you will. And it is kind of a, you know, it's kind of a energy. The fans you can hear them, this, that, and the other. But that's just not something I'm going to plan around my day to watch.
Not when you've got fresh air, sunshine, real grass, birds singing, the smell of azaleas.
Yeah.
We're talking about the real world out there. That just has too much of this one caters to the guys who like to sit in their parents' basement and play World of Warcraft all day, every day. I don't want to go out. It's too sunny. You know, it might rain or something. Let me go inside into a closed environment and totally ruin a worthwhile endeavor to get out and get some sunshine and fresh air and some exercise.
And maybe this is a, you know, winter, you know, a January, February type deal when the weather's not great. And I thought as I watch it, is there a gambling element involved here? Because if there's not, I really have no interest in it. You know, maybe I can say, hey, $5, this guy hits it in the water or whatever. But
okay, you can owe me.
Yeah. But I don't know. And of course, if Tiger and Rory weren't a part of it, it probably wouldn't even be a blip on the radar.
No doubt. And I don't think it's going to be a blip for long.
I don't either. I just, as I watch it, I'm thinking, how long is this going to last? How many times are people going to want to check this out?
Yeah.
Throughout a season. So I don't know. I thought that was
gimmicky.
Yeah, gimmicky. I think so.
One more spin before the top of the hour.
Let's do it. Let's see what happens on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel.
Thought we would see Mark Sears' mama.
No.
Well,
Super Bowl. Does anybody know what that Roman numeral is without looking it up?
That's 49.
I thought it was 59.
Oh, yeah. It's 59. There you
59.
go.
59. Yeah, Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans a week from Sunday. The point spread's a little tight, a little tighter than most Super Bowls. here. I think Kansas City about a 1.5 point favorite last time.
Well, let's face
checked.
it. By and large, the Super Bowl has more times than not just been kind of a dud game.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I look back, Mary. I don't want to sound like an old fuddy-duddy.
You say that at least once a show.
I read some article about the game and the halftime entertainment. I had no clue who this person was. And then they had a list of the last 4 or 5 halftime performers. I might have heard of 1 or 2 of them just because, I guess I just heard it somewhere. Wasn't familiar with their music or what they did. I mean,
to be fair, how many of these people, how much are you following the new music anyway?
I know. I'm with you. And I guess they're going after the younger demographic to try to get them interested in the NFL, the female audience. But I mean, can the Rolling Stones not play anymore?
Oh, I'm surprised they don't have Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I'm surprised they hadn't either. I mean, but it'd be nice to have like some vintage guys, get up there and get their moment in the sun at halftime.
Kendrick Lamar this year.
Who?
Usher last year. Rihanna the year before that. Before that, in 2022, down at SoFi, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem.
Here's a guy they need to get. I was just thinking, as I'm thinking of all the different genres, I think that's what they call it in the music business.
Genre.
Why not have Kenny Chesney? Why not have a country singer?
Why not?
He could sing, Get Along. He could sing a song about everybody getting along with one another.
The last one that John might have been interested in was 25 years ago down in Miami, and I do not remember this. February 7th, it was 15 years ago. February 7th, 2010 at Sun Life Stadium. The Who played the Super Bowl?
Did they really? I don't remember
that. That
we won't get fooled again.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I remember when Paul McCartney played the Super Bowl. He was really good.
Agreed.
He was good.
That was back when it was good. Now that things have, I don't know. Diana Ross has done the Super Bowl before.
With or without the Supremes?
Without. They had it at the Georgia Dome in 1994. The Judds, Travis Tritt, who you've gotten a personal concert for your daughter from, Tanya Tucker, Clint Black. Okay, all right, I like that.
I think it's time they go the country route again. Where's the Super Bowl next year, by the way? Not really. I think it's out in West.
This is going to be like the 5th time during the show, 5th time today in the 2 hours that John will say, I'm going to have to Google that.
I think I know. I think next year it's at Santa Clara where the 49ers play.
Oh.
Then the year after that, I believe it's in L.A., and then the year after that, I think it's in Atlanta. I'm sticking with it till somebody proves me wrong.
There you go. Also, he says that at least once a show as well. Our thanks to Travis Reier on YouTube, Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com. Wednesday is coming right up with a new smorgasbord of entertainment.
We better believe it. CJ Duncan from Yellowhammer News will join us around 7:30ish tomorrow live on the program at the bottom of the first hour. And Rodney Orr, Rodney Orr tomorrow instead of Thursday. So we'll visit with the Tighter Insider tomorrow at the start of hour number 2 here.
Well, we wrap up this live show for John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight presented by Bud Light.